Dog. Hi, everybody. So we talked about last time about how a lot of us have a lot of new donors from our last COVID year, and so I just put together a couple slides to talk about how we're trying to really cultivate and steward those donors as they come in, and then what we're doing to try to keep them engaged. And love to hear you folks' ideas as as we go along or at the end, and questions too. But so on with the show then. All right. Are you seeing this now?
Yep.
Yeah. Nods. Okay, excellent. Great. So here we go. So new donors. I'm going to talk first about how new donors hopefully experience when they come in. So of course, the first thing they get is an acknowledgement, thank you, which I didn't put a picture of here, but either by email or by letter if they if their gift is not online. And we have been trying to keep that gift or that acknowledgement kind of updated for COVID, giving some kind of updates on our COVID response, as well as, welcome. And of course, thank you for your gift of X and etc. So after they get that, which should be, which is instantly if it's online, and then within a couple of days if it's offline. The first thing that we are sending to steward them is kind of a handwritten looking note. So we're sending that from a vendor who's called Gateway. So they're a telemarketing and mail vendor that caters specifically to food banks. Actually, they're out on the West Coast, so they do this for us. So they send this nice note, which looks kind of handwritten, you can see. And it's on a little note card like this, and we include a little picture of a client on it. And so we send that, we pull that monthly and send that right away as soon as we can. And just telling them, just thank you so much for becoming a donor. Oh, the one that I include here is thank you so much for becoming a monthly giver. So we send these notes also to monthly givers, whether it's their first gift or not. And, your gift is hard at work. Here's a picture of your gift at work, with this client, thank you so much. And, visit this page for an update on our COVID response, is what we're saying right now. Great. So, and then, including that note, we send a call to the people that we can. So people who give us their phone number elsewhere, they're able to append it. We give them a welcome call. We say, thank you so much for becoming a donor. If you have any questions, please contact us. And would you like to become a sustainer? So even though they're brand new, that actually is proven. We call them a hotline name. They're new donors are very receptive to becoming sustainers, so we offer them that. And so the people that we can call, which is a little less than half usually, or we do call. If people's first gift was online, then they go into our online donor welcome series. And we actually paused this and we're refreshing it because we were sending out so much content, so many emails during COVID, that we didn't want people to not get our newsy COVID updates, and we paused this. But we're starting it back up soon. And so a couple days after your first gift, when you got your autoresponder thank you, we send our first welcome email, and thank you so much for your gift, story from a client, ask, give them some chances to engage with us. And then about a week later, we were sending them a second email, again, so this is a little picture of it over here on the side, pictures of clients, kind of telling our story, opportunities to engage with us. We've got volunteer, become a monthly giver, learn more about us, etc. So that's kind of a best practice to give people sort of this, welcome, get to know us. Even though you gave us a gift, it's very likely you don't know much about us. That happens a lot. And so, we are doing, we like to do that online. Let's see, next. And then next, our new donor welcome mailing. So this this is kind of our main welcome piece, and pretty much all donors get it. So only the online people are getting the online version. Only people we can call are getting the phone call, but pretty much everyone who's given $10 or more get this. And it's really just a nice letter telling them about us and what we do, and trying to chase away any buyer's remorse and get them involved in us. So it's got a letter from Allison O'Toole. On the back, we have put some key statistics that we hope are very powerful in easy to glance at graphical form. We give them a chance to give again. Here's a little form, and become a sustainer if they want to. There's a little lift note from a donor, and then there's a sticker for their car. So inspire others by showing your support for Second Harvest Heartland. So that's our welcome kit. We have different versions for people who gave a one-time gift. Their first gift was a sustaining gift. If their first gift was from a food and fun drive. And we also are sending this to new volunteers, so who haven't given. So that's, the language is a little different, of course, but we're trying to welcome in that volunteer too, and let them know what we're about, and try to get them engaged further. So yeah, any questions about that? This is really kind of our hardworking communication to new people. So yeah, moving on. One thing that we do that I think is very unique, I haven't heard a lot of food banks doing this, at least not nearly to the extent that we do it. But for some years, we have had a cadre of volunteers that help us out with phone calls and handwritten notes every month. So every month they're probably making several hundred thank you phone calls to donors, and we make sure that donors that are in the 1,000 to 5,000 range get a phone call for sure, and over 5,000, the major gift officer starts calling them. And so they just have a real short little script, and it says, I'm just calling to thank you for your recent gift to Second Harvest Heartland. We're so grateful, and thank you, and have a great day. And this is Connie. I'm a volunteer from Second Harvest Heartland, and we find that people are often suspicious. They're like, why are you calling me? What do you want? Are you asking me for money? And are often surprised and delighted when they realize that it is just a call, not asking for anything. So we love that. Of course, most people end up with just a voicemail message because they reach, they reach, a quarter to a third maybe. But, this is just a wonderful way of stewarding donors that we would never be able to do with staff, because we just wouldn't have the time to do it. And so we typically have, 2 to 4 people kind of on our team to do it. They do it from home now. And even before COVID, we had switched to having some people do it from home. They dial into or they log into a SharePoint site to see the list. They see a list, they call people up and, give them a message or something. Occasionally they talk to somebody who says, oh, I got a problem, or I'd like to volunteer, who should I contact? And they make a little note, and then we send that file over to development operations for people that need follow-up on some question or something they want done. That's no problem. We love that. And so, we can't read it. I have never been able to figure out a way or put a ton of energy into, really proving that this is making a difference, but we believe it does. And we love the stories that we hear from our volunteers and from our donors doing this. And I've done this myself, put in a couple hours here and there making these phone calls, and it really feels delightful. So also they send notes. They send notes for sure to bigger donors that can't be reached by phone. We don't have any phone number. So those 5K plus people, they send a handwritten note to. And they send a couple hundred notes a month. I guess I'd say that's on the high side, 100 to 200 notes a month, I will say. So, and they're literally handwritten and sent out. So people the volunteers come by, pick up a list, pick up some note cards, take them home, fill them out, bring them back in, and we mail them. So that's how we usually do it. So it's some work managing these people, but it's much more manageable than I was afraid it was when we started doing this. So, and volunteers kind of a limitless resource. If you can, if you have people that want to help out. So we love doing this. All right, moving on. Oh, one more thing that our volunteers are doing. So our group of note writers, which is usually, again, about, 4 to 6 people we have, kind of ongoing doing it, is they are sending 1-year anniversary notes to new donors. And, we feel like out of all the possible things, this is most important. We used to try, sending them out to 5-year anniversary people and blah, blah, blah. But, we're focusing on this because, I think those are people who are maybe less ingrained with us. And, we're really trying to cleave them to us and make them feel appreciated. So we're sending them 1-year anniversary notes. All right. So just to talk about kind of more of our ongoing efforts. So we send mail appeals every month except for January and July. So that's a big hardworking part of our cultivation plan. And so most donors are not getting a mailing every month. On average, a fairly regular donor is getting 4 to 6 a year, but the very best people are getting them almost every month. So we send the mail appeals. This is one that we sent in April. It's got this Taking Root theme, all about fresh produce and such. But all of I'll call it our regular plan, our regular appeals, have been tweaked for COVID. So, we're trying to make sure that we are, in tune with what people are thinking about now and topical. So, I just put in some of the copy here. After a difficult year, more neighbors than ever are struggling to afford groceries like fresh produce. We're talking about our fresh produce and our partners who put the food directly in the hands of families in need, all you folks. And then when the pandemic began, Chris lost his job first, then Lisa, and then tells a story, a client story. So, throughout there, we're making this relevant to COVID. So, that's, one thing that we're doing to try to, make sure that our message stays relevant for the time. One thing that we've been talking about with the comms team is people, we're beginning to, believe that people are feeling COVID fatigue. I know I am. And so, we're going to have to be sure that we're talking about this in a way that, isn't just exhausting and, is recognizing that, yeah, things are getting better. We see things getting better. And we hope that you feel that things are getting better. Yet, COVID, yet hunger is still here, and it will be, projections are that it will be for quite a long time. And hunger was here before COVID, and it'll be there after. So, we'll be continuing to evolve our messaging around that. Let's see. So another example, this is one I pulled up specifically because in here at the NMA, this is we're sending a version of our regular June appeal here that is specifically going to pull out those people that were new during COVID and haven't given again. So pardon me? Oops, sorry, I thought I heard somebody. So we're saying, when you rushed your urgent gift to provide emergency food at the height of the pandemic, you showed how much you care, but today I hope you'll make a special 3-month commitment and jump back in. So we're specifically kind of calling these people out to say, thanks for jumping in, but, we still need you. So we'll be doing that. All right, and then, and then online, we're trying to, our online giving, has really exploded. All channels did, mail and telemarketing, but online more so than any other. And so, throughout this, we've, used email and our web pages to try to keep people abreast of the need and our response to that. So this is one of our emails from the Pitch In for the Kitchens campaign we just did, specifically talking about what we, have been doing, during COVID, with Pitch In for the, or with Minnesota Central Kitchen. This over here is just a header from a specific a donation page specifically, connected to content about COVID on our site. So, showing a distribution and specifically, talking about, COVID and the need there. But, we have this, content throughout, our site. So we're trying to keep people abreast of our response and that the fact that the need is still high. So, yeah, so that's, that's some of the ways that we're trying to communicate with people about COVID and the ongoing transition of the situation, and keep them engaged and let them know more about us. So, it's definitely our challenge to make them part of the team and, hopefully not let this have been a one-time thing, when they jumped into the pool and gave to us for the first time. So, yeah, so questions, discussion?
Are those sample thank you notes, that verbiage, is that available somewhere to us? We usually write thank yous for $100 and up, handwritten thank you notes. And I know that sometimes she gets tired of writing the same old thing. And some of those had a little bit different verbiage than she normally uses. And I'm just wondering, are those available somewhere for us to have as samples so I could give it to her and just say, you know, here's something that's a little bit different. It might be helpful. And I'm sorry to be up and down, but I'm puppy sitting. And so if I can't see him, he's chewing something up. So
No problem at all. Yeah,
it's
we'd be glad to
area. I'm listening, but
I'd be
anyway,
glad to send it out to the group. No problem. I wouldn't, you know, you're not gonna find it posted on our website or anything like that, but I'd be glad to send it out in an email when, you know, after the meeting.
That'd be fabulous. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah.
Anything else? And does anybody else want to jump in and, you know, anything that you have been supplying to your donors to tell them about your COVID response that you have felt is particularly intriguing to them, or, you know, we'd love to hear about it, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're not doing that specifically for COVID, but you know, we're building a new building. We're moving to a new location down the road, and so we're getting back to donors. We've got people on the board of directors have been calling them. You know, we've got a group that calls new donors. We've got a group that's calling donors who've been donating for a while and talking to them or trying to, and you know, we're leaving a message if they can't get a hold of them and thanking them. We're also going the postcard route too for thanking donors, and especially the newer donors. And it's been working well. The response has been really good, especially when they've been able to get a hold of some people. We've also gotten a few notes back thanking us for the phone call or the postcard and stuff. So it does work.
Great. And so the postcards, in addition to your receipt, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
General appreciation. Yeah, that's great. I've been surprised in research that I've read how often donors claim that they don't even get thanked. And a lot of times we know that they do, but they don't, you know, maybe perceive that first thank you, especially maybe online, the autoresponder. They don't really maybe perceive that as enough, you know, maybe they just feel like that's transactional. But because in research, people are always saying, oh yeah, I don't get thanked, you know, 60% of people will say that they didn't get thanked, you know, so.
And do you think that 20, because you use a $20 threshold, is that right?
10 actually for our new donor kit. Yeah.
And do you think it's helpful for that? I mean, I agree that I would love to be able to make them all feel special, no matter what the dollar value, but we just found that it was a little overwhelming to do lower than $100. I mean, we're still doing a fair number of thank yous. So I just wondered if other people thought the same thing.
It takes work. You know, and to stay up on top of it and everything. We've got volunteers that send thank yous out for smaller donations. I'll do a handwritten note sometimes, or I'll add to it. Or we've got Elaine, our other co-director, does that. Members will also do that sometimes. And I guess the way we kind of look at it is it's just part of the process. You want these donors to keep coming back to you. And, you know, hopefully at some point, you know, you may get a major gift out of them at some point, but even if you don't, you want them to feel that their money has been appreciated. You know, because some of these people, or you get the, you know, the proverbial little old lady. We've got one lady that she's been sending $10. Well, it started out 4 or 5 years ago at $8 a month. And we ran into her. We had an event, and she just stopped by and she introduced herself. And she's one of these people that you'd love to have her for a grandmother. Just the sweetest person. But $8 is what she could afford then. Then it went up to $9. Now it's up to $11. Okay, and so we get that check once a month. And in some ways, that's just kind of your favorite thing to get, because you kind of know the backstory behind it. And she's doing what she can, and she's happy to do it. She wishes she could do more, but this is what she can afford. And it's a great story to tell too to people, because people can relate to that. So having those kind of stories in your back pocket when you're talking to donors, even if you're asking them for a bigger gift, they can relate to it, and it's one that's been effective for us.
Yeah, I think it's a real positive thing to do as well. It's just kind of checking your battles and reaching out to the the ones that you can. And then, we send receipts to everybody else, but we don't always send a thank you. And I feel bad about that, but I don't have enough people to do that.
I'm sure your receipt is very grateful and appreciating, right? I mean, I didn't attach ours, but I mean, that's great too. I mean, I believe some people don't even get a receipt, I mean.
Do you could get some pre-printed cards up, because this is what we base ours off of, and then there's room on there for a handwritten note and other things, but it's and there's just some simple boxes that you can check off. It's thank you for your donation of time, food, dollars, and then we'll put either the pounds of food or the dollars on there, and then it's signed the SACA staff and board of directors, but you can sign it individually down there. And then on the top part, it was just a simple fold over card. You can put that little note on there if you want, if you've got more time, or if it's something that really warrants an extra little something on it. And that's like I said, that's real easy to fill out and send out.
A mass letter is good too. I mean, if you don't have time to do handwritten notes, I mean, to grab a group and print off a letter and send a letter. I mean, a letter in an envelope, typically beats something that's a self-mailer or anything, but, even a simple letter, feels like important mail to people in an envelope, and, that's good too. Mm-hmm.
And do you send out then for in-kind donations as well? So if someone brings in 100 pounds of goods, I mean, again, we send the receipt of the donation using a certain level as a guideline, but do you write personal handwritten type thank yous for that type of donation as well?
That's a great question. I don't think so, Greta. If somebody brings in a food donation, they get a little receipt at that minute, hopefully from the person at the front desk. And if it's a corporate thing, we have a team, Heather Olson and a couple who, are kind of managing the corporate accounts. So they'll often send some kind of a special something, but if it's if it's a food and fun drive and somebody brings in some food donation, I don't think they do. I think they, they're giving them their receipt, thank you at that moment. And I think that's all often. It would be nice to do everything, but I don't think so.
There are many in-kind donors that, just drop off 4 bags of bread or whatever on their way by and just say, no, put it down as anonymous. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to wait for a receipt. I don't want anything for it. When the school collected for Minnesota Food Share, we did send a thank you to the school through their portal, their website, so that they or their Facebook page so that they could transmit that information to all of the teachers and that type of thing for the 2 tons of food that they brought. But there's a lot of small time donors that are real hard for us to reach, I think.
Mhm.
Dang.
Connie, I was curious when you mentioned that the donor kit that you send out also goes to volunteers. So I have a couple of questions. I'm curious from the agencies on the meeting if you also send something to volunteers to get donations. And then Connie, if you can talk about a little bit how successful that is, or what, a little bit more about us kind of also asking volunteers for donations.
I'll go first if nobody else wants to, but we, besides sending that welcome mailing to new volunteers, we will typically send 1 to 2 appeals throughout the year to the new volunteer group too. And I'll just say, I mean, it's not even break even, what we spend on that. So it does have a low response, but acquisition is typically investment. And so, and it's definitely in the ROI range of what we would consider acquisition investment. So, so we get a few people. I'd like to say that we were better at this and we were, doing more, but yeah, we're trying to invest a little in those volunteers to try to convert them to donors. And typically we see somebody who is a donor who is also a volunteer to have a higher kind of long-term value than your typical newly acquired donor too, which, totally makes sense. But you would think that volunteers would be a really great, productive pool for donors, and they're not. So if I would say, I've always have heard that from other food banks too and stuff at conferences, like, yeah, it's not, it's not as obvious as you would think it would be, but, but it's still, I mean, it's a great opportunity to have that pool of people, obviously have interest and care about your organization. So we're still working it.
Yeah, we don't send anything to volunteers asking to do that because we're just so grateful for the fact that they volunteer and that we consider that that is their donation. We have a number of volunteers that also donate, but we don't beg off on them because we are just so grateful for the fact that they spend their time with us.
Us too. We don't ask often, but we ask once or twice.
Mm-hmm. What we do when we get a group of volunteers together for something like the produce drops or when we have an event, we talk to them about it and, the possibility, and you do it, and we kind of do it in a way where you're kind of asking, but you're not necessarily asking, right now, I guess. But we also ask them if they know of anybody, when they're talking to their friends about what they're doing at SECA, to ask them if they're interested in volunteering or if they'd be interested in donating. And it's a low percentage, like you say, but you do pull some out of there, and you just, you never know where a donor is going to come from. So.
Also, volunteers are often turned into bequesters. So there's a strong link in that too.
Any other questions for Connie or anything you want to share about your own development efforts with the group?
I was just going to say, I really like the donor to donor messages. I've never really seen that before. And I think that can be very impactful on, challenging others to continue to donate.
Yeah, that's great. We try to include donor stories in our annual community report, on a website. And everybody wants to be part of a winning team. You trust someone if other people trust them too, you know, it makes sense, I guess. But, and we get a lot of positive feedback from donors being called by volunteers too. So, you know, when we started doing this, we were like, how will, you know, is that weird? But I think there's a certain credibility in a volunteer being grateful too. So that's good. That I think that works good too.
Yeah, I wanted to add, I'm on the board of Open Your Heart for the hungry and homeless, and they have us board members calling to thank new donors. So I get a handful every month, and it's a lot of fun. And I get a lot of thank yous and people really grateful to get that thank you. Most of the time I'm leaving a message, and there's a little skepticism at first, but once they realize why you're calling, they're like, oh, and I even had one that said, well, I would really like to donate more. So I was sure to pass that off to the executive director so she could follow up on that. So
Nice.
I know sometimes it feels a little weird. You know, may feel awkward and you think you're bothering people, but I think for the most part, people are really grateful for that. And so utilize your board too, make them do a little bit of the work.
Yeah, one of the other things that we do too is we don't give them too long of a list. You know, because if you've got a list of, you know, especially if it's somebody who's calling that's working still and they're doing it at night or on the weekend, if you give them a list of, you know, 20 or 30 or 40 people or whatever, they're going to look at that and, geez, I don't have time to do this. But if you've got, you know, 5, 6, 8 people or something like that, it's an easy thing to do. They can knock it off, you know, in just maybe an hour, a couple hours, maybe, depending on how the conversations go. And then they're done. And people like that because they are so busy. So keep it manageable.
Yeah, I would agree that short list is probably really helpful in trying to get people to do that. But I'm also guessing that you do find that you're giving more of the calls to a voice message, because none of us want the extra car warranty that.
Amen.
I do. I've got 4 of them.
And so people hesitate to even pick up a number that they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes, especially if it's like an out of the area code number. That's we've got one person on our donor engagement committee. She worked for the city of Columbia Heights, and so she doesn't use her work phone number because it's, you know, that city, but her phone it's like a 312 area code, and so she's run into problems with that on occasion, or people's mailboxes are filled up. So many people don't even have a voicemail set up anymore.
All right, anything else for Connie or this discussion?
Right, thanks everybody.
Thank you, Connie. And we will send a copy of the presentation